right? Well, a good broker will help you find a deal and get the deal closed after it's negotiated. Advise you to always try to negotiate the terms direct with the seller. It's all about getting the seller on the phone. Negotiations with the seller. The broker is invited to participate on the call so they aren't being circumvented. Did you hear me say that? Live in front of you to the broker. I want you on the call. He said, yeah, definitely. I'd like to be on the call. Okay. Now, when he's on the call, I'm going to tell him to please be quiet. But I want him on the call. And it's done in a very easy manner and very respectful manner. I'll say to him, Greg, look, I appreciate you pulling the call together. I really appreciate it. If you would please give me a few moments to talk direct with your seller. If you guys need to discuss anything later, that's totally fine. But I just want to go ahead and see if this works. So please, just let me go ahead and have a few minutes direct with Mr. So-and-so and make it happen. Or so-and-so. You usually don't refer to them as Mr. or Mrs. It's a first name basis, guys. You bring them to your level. They're no better than you, and they need you more than you need them. Always address them by the first name. Explain to the broker that by consenting to this, you can get the deal negotiated about 10 times faster, 1/10 the time. Back and forth over and over, and the seller and broker get paid faster, all right? Now, not only is the sending a message via the middleman is slower, but it does get lost. Things get lost in translation. Remember the other day I said if I go ahead and tell this gentleman one thing, he whispers her, whispering her, whispering her, whispering her, whispering her, and by the time it gets back to me, it's going to be something totally different. It happens. And think about it. It's not just like we're going to tell him something, he's just going to go ahead and whisper it, and it's going to come over. But time, circumstance, people get caught up into things. They don't remember, this, that, the other. Plus there isn't clarification that they understand what we're asking about anyway, and they're going to go convey your message? No, get the seller on the phone. All right? Most sellers are not good negotiators. Fred? Even if they're experienced commercial property owners, when you ask them direct questions on the phone, most won't ask for time to decide and get back to you. Most answers will be yes, right on the spot. Would you sell for what you owe? $10,000 more. Okay? They feel like there's nobody else for them to go ahead and talk to. They're the people. They're the decision maker. It's like, make your decision. You're the decision maker. Hi, you're the decision maker. I'm asking you a question. Please decide. Right then and there. Boom. Done. All right? When you ask them direct questions on the phone, most won't ask for time to decide and get back to you. Most will just answer yes or no on the spot. Before you end the call, restate all the important points and agreements. Tell them you will summarize it all in a 1 or 2 page letter of intent and say to the seller, is this what we agreed to? Okay? Just like you heard on my recorded call. How many times did I recap that thing? 2 times, 3 times? Recapping, making sure that they understand. And here's how you say it. Great. I just want to be absolutely certain that these terms aren't going to change after we conclude the call. That happened to us recently. We had to pass on the deal because we just didn't have time to go back and rehash it all out again. All right? I look forward to going to contract with you here shortly, Bob. Beware of the added property height brokers will hit you with on the property when they try to sell you something. They're trained salespeople. Some of them are better than others. They're going to try to play on your emotions. Just stick to the facts and the pre-screening sheets. All right, question the source of every item on the pre-screening sheet. Use brokers with CCIM. CCIM is a lot like MAI, Member Appraisal Institute, and CCIM is Certified Commercial Investment Member. It means they got the badge. They had to go through some extra training for it. But it isn't this training. And I've had people tell me, I'm CCIM, you can't teach me a lick. I was like, really? All right. CCIM designation, that's what you want to use. It's the highest level of training they can achieve. All right? Those who own or operate commercial property are good to have also. Okay. So, letter campaigns to find deals. Way on time, John. Give me a sign. The same rules apply in small deals as in the residential market. And guys, this is a quick little discussion because it is the simplicity behind it but the power behind it is absolutely amazing. Remember I showed you how to get the APN number and then just count a couple tracks over to find vacant land? Now, some good things for vacant land are debris on land, tires, old cars, neglected land, and then all of a sudden you see a big crane going, big Walmart crane coming back and forth just like 3 more parcels over. That would be something to look at, okay? Now, when you're going to do direct mail, the same rule applies on deals in the residential market, hand addressed. Now, that's not you doing hand addressed. And many moons ago when I was doing direct mail in residential, do not ever ask your wife to do it. Ask me how I know that. First class stamp. Stay away from religious, special event stamps, foundation type stamps. It's best if it's like an old truck or a flower or like a flag, okay? And the reason being, obviously, is if they see religious stamps or something like that, then what they're going to do is it's going to go into the big round filing bin, which is also known as the trash can. Did you know that most mail is sorted over the trash can? It's the way I do it. I go ahead and take my pile of mail and I sit it out and I go, it's just the way it's done. Unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's done like that, but I'll tell you what. If one comes across and it's hand addressed, could be a letter from grandma, could be anything. You don't ever know what it could be. A check, right? You don't know what it is. I'm sorry I didn't pay my mortgage last month on my apartment, and what I did was I found out that this was your address somehow, some way, and I wanted to make sure it gets direct to you. You open it up and there's a couple grand in there. Don't want that one to be in the trash. All right? May require 5 letters sent out before the owner will respond. Guys, that's called a sequential mailing. That means that you're going to be sending multiple letters out. When it comes to mailings, you have 2 different ways. To approach the market, guys, there's 2 ways. You can do a shotgun approach, meaning that you load it all up and you shoot it out and it goes to the masses. Or what you can do is a rifle approach, okay? You can go ahead and hit it. And what you're looking at is something like a direct hit to a self-storage facility that's only 50% occupied, advertised with seller financing. Okay? That's something direct. Now, you can bombard all the sellers in a particular area that meet certain criteria, and that title company can pull that out for you as well. You can. Or have a title company pull the same for potential suspects or prospects and market to them directly. And mark that out. That isn't suspect, that's prospect, potential prospect. Okay. Now, not every deal listed by a broker, such as when you write to an owner, okay? First, what you have to do is locate the owner. And to do this, use a title company. Title company has listings of owners that own property, commercial property. You'll probably still want to go ahead and retain a broker to represent you in collecting and verifying all the facts and possibly even help assisting in negotiating. It's often an advantage to talk directly to the seller up front. Even if you feel you need a broker to assist you in negotiating the deal for you, brokers can not only do the talking but also help you strategize. Okay? If you're dealing with smaller deals, maybe something that doesn't fit my criteria, and you're dealing with a broker, what do brokers have with sellers that they have listing agents with? What? Relationships. Exactly. So if they already have a relationship and they say, you know, I was talking to this guy, Julie, and he actually seems like a really, really nice guy. And I know that he knows what he's talking about. And he can buy your property under a master lease. And I think that it's going to be a good idea for you to do it because right now your building's only 50% occupied, and I know you're tired of the headache. That could be a good influence because they have a relationship in place. All right? Always get help strategizing. Now here are some people. Brokers. Brokers, if you're dealing with deals that do not meet my criteria or you want to create a dream team, you want to talk to people, brokers are great. Partners as well are good to go ahead and speak with. Now, page 96, constructing and presenting offers. We do have some letters of intent back there. Now would be the time. Thank you. Letter of intent, LOI and contracts. LOI. Guys, there's psychology behind LOI. And I'll tell you right now, I am the only one that has picked this thing apart and analyzed the psychology behind relationship-driven individuals that are motivated to do business with you to make sure that the letters of intent get executed and get back to you. And I don't care if they're binding or non-binding. Even if they're binding, they can still be broken. I'm talking about sending a harmless one-page piece of paper, getting it executed, and if somebody else comes in and is offering smoking terms, all cash, and even overpaying for the property, you still are in first position. Who would like to know that? Okay, this is why. And I need one of those too as well, if I may. Letters of intent. We're not out there, again, guys, making oral offers. This letter of intent will be in the back of your material, so you can see that there. Okay. Now, when it comes to letters of intent, this right here, is a master lease option agreement, but this is an LOI, letter of intent. And we also have some other LOIs back there too as well, if you could bring those to me. See if I have something in here real quick. This, because we're out there and we're not making oral offers, I think that you should see how important this is. Everything goes on one page. Now, it says 1 or 2 pages of basic deal terms. We can't always just get it on one page. I would always prefer to have it on one page. Look at how much information is on here. Make the font smaller. Shrink the font. You want to make it so they can read it, but try to get it down to one page. The reason why we want it one page, guys, is because one page, you can do a lot with one page when you don't have 2 pages. What happens if you lose the other page? Lost the deal. Now they don't have it. They don't even know. They got to go back. They got to print it out. They'll look at it later. One page, they can hang out with it. They can go ahead and throw it on the armchair or the couch while they're sitting down, and they can digest it again. If they're sitting in the hammock, drinking their Mai Tai, they can look at it again. Wherever these sellers are, whatever these sellers are doing, it's harmless. It's one page with all the information spelt out on it. All right? Now, because of this, you need one page with all the basic terms to come to a general meeting of the minds on the major deal points. This is basically where you ask for the farm. If you're going to ask for subordination, it should go in here, unless you're planning on negotiating it later. Now, keep it short and simple. Make sure to ask for everything up front. This is the time. Work out the fine details later when you go to contract. Lisa, can you look back there and see if there's one additional pack? It would be shrink wrapped. Okay. These were shrink wrapped. Okay. All right, then this is the one. Now, elements of an LOI. Cover letter clarifies and uses to emphasize benefits to the seller, possibly make or break the deal because the seller will read it. Guys, understand something. The seller is not just going to take it and go like this, sign it. No, not reality. Seller is going to remember a conversation. Seller is going to look at it and they're going to say, term. All right? We talked about 18 months. We talked about 2 6-month extensions. No problem. All right? Rate. By the way, guys, this is my a master lease on a deal that I'm doing, and I changed things around a little bit, so I just went in there and changed some stuff so that way it doesn't blanket my exact deal, just for the protection of my student. So when you see it says term of lease shall be 12, and then it says 18 months, that's supposed to be a 1-2, not a 1-8. All right? So it's 12 months with 2 6-month extension options. I just changed the numbers a little bit in there to protect the students and the identity of the deal, because its deal's just smoking. All right. So it's going to have the buyer and the company name, the property address and description. Now the property address and description should be in there at the top, and it should just say property address 1234 Main Street, 124 self-storage units. Good enough. Purchase price, deposit, due diligence period, cash to seller as a down payment, if any. Seller financing terms. Equity ownership, if any. That's if any, if they're going to get any equity ownership, like on a joint venture. We agreed that you're going to get 10%. All right? Reports And what that means is if there is any existing reports, you will go ahead and present those reports to us under X period of time. Broker commission should be spelled out there, and you could either go ahead and say that you're going to take care of it or they're going to take care of it. But if you're not planning on taking care of it, I wouldn't even mention it because it's customary that they take care of it anyway. Closing costs, non-binding or binding. Now, there's pros and cons for that. At the bottom, it should say that this is a non-binding agreement. If you're doing a deal and you feel that it needs to be binding for any reason whatsoever, particularly if Fred's deal had a few extra zeros on the back end of the 500,000, that he was, not the 500,000, the 650,000, if that thing appraised for 6.5 million, and he wanted to go ahead and sell it and just get rid of it, or maybe he was in foreclosure and he just wanted to sell for what he owes and we picked it up for 360,000, then you might want to reconsider. You still want to go ahead and have it non-binding at any time, but of course you use that. That's up to your discretion. I prefer not to. And then additional any major contingencies, like we're not going to close until annexation. Closing date and signature blocks need to go on the bottom. Get you on the page to 97. Now this right here, guys, again, it's harmless. Here's the psychology behind it. The psychology behind a one page is that it's harmless, but understand that most people do business on a handshake. Even to this day, the psychology behind signing something says that you've accepted and that your signature, most people's signature, means that they're committed. And what you're asking for them to do is to emotionally commit. Some people will sign this non-binding letter of an intent, and the money that shows that they're eventually going to get in 2 years, in their head, that money's already spent. That's the psychology. They're already thinking about that trip to Italy. They're already thinking about that new lake house. They're already putting plans in their head and setting their dreams up, setting their things up, and now you are the one that's going to make it happen for them. Not only are you solving their problems, they're emotionally tied to this agreement, regardless if it says binding or non-binding. And I will tell you now, if you send over a letter of intent, you do not get it signed and get it sent back to you, you did not do what you're supposed to be doing. Get it signed. Other partners of mine have said, it's okay if they don't sign it, it's non-binding anyway. And you're going to hear brokers tell you, I look at it like toilet paper, it's nothing, it doesn't mean anything. Oh yeah? To you, it might not mean something, Mr. Broker, but what I'm here to tell you is this. The psychology that most people overlook is that when somebody signs and commits to it, they've digested it, they've signed to it, and people, when they put their name on something or they give you their word, they want to go ahead and make sure they follow through. Do you guys understand that? Getting this signed and getting it back and having it one page is the key that will unlock the vault, regardless if it's binding or non-binding, and put you in first position. I've had incredible terms with one of my partners on a deal. Somebody came and offered them way better terms. And they told us, the reason why we're still going with you guys is because we have a signed letter of intent and the seller wants to do business with you. Because you're very straightforward with them and you tell him like it is, and he feels that you are going to get the deal done. And this other group, they just wanted to come in and offer a whole different set of terms, and we were already past that negotiation point. We did that already. We're finished. We're moving forward. Right there. They want the deal to get done. Do you understand that? Very important. They want to get the deal done. All right, so contracts on page 97. All right? Contracts. Now, a typical reasonable due diligence period, and this actually goes in the letter of intent too. That's why you still have that in front of you now. We're going to specify when our due diligence period is. Now, typically, it's between 60 and 90 days, right? It does level out at 60 on a norm. The lowest is 30. And the thing about it is, guys, you can get extensions for your due diligence, which is very powerful. So if you need extensions, meaning that if you go through your due diligence period and your money's refundable through your due diligence, right? Unilaterally, as we know, right? Okay. And we go ahead and get to say we're on 90-day due diligence, we get to day 45, and we realize that now what we have to do is some additional market research or what have you, or maybe something didn't pan out. We want to be able to go back to them and say, look, we've done 45 out of 60, and we can either do this at this point. You guys give us another 60, or we're going to walk. We need another 60, right? Now, the way that we work that is, the reason why we ask for another 60 is because, really, we only need another 30. Because if you guys have been paying attention, we always borrow more time than we need. So if we needed the 60, we tell them we need the 90. We need the 90, we tell them we need the 120. Because chances are they're going to back us up anyway and only give us what we absolutely need. But we always want to borrow more time. All right? So make sure that you always ask for the farm, and then you can go ahead and dig back a little bit. That's very important. So all too often people go and they say, I need another 30. They say, okay, here's another 30. Oops, cut it too short. Can't get it done in 30. Go back. I need another 30. They're like, well, why didn't you just ask for 60 to begin with? I didn't think you'd give it to me. Well, how confident are you? Right? Ask for it. That's the way it's done. Escape and extension clauses often make it through seller scrutiny. Make the seller reimburse for items that fail due diligence, such as a phase 1 or an appraisal. You can let them know. So what's the property going to be worth after it gets to X? What's the property worth now? Seller tells you it's worth this, it's worth this, it's worth this. It's going to be worth that. All right. Are you willing to back that up? Because if not, the deal's too skinny, and we definitely don't want to put skin in the game to pay for an appraisal in a phase 1 if it's going to come back too low, if they agree to it. All right? Add extension clauses for appraisals in phase 1 reports, since they often take longer than other reports. That's very important, guys. Put a big circle around that. Add extension clauses for appraisals in phase 1 reports, because truly it's out of your hands. Can't tell you how many times I've seen sellers tell me, we can get an MAI done on this thing within 3 weeks. Okay, great. We go ahead and call a certified MAI in the area. Not me, of course. Not you, professionals. How long is it going to take? Oh, we're backed up really bad. It's going to at least take 3 months. Really? Why so long? Because there's so much happening in this area. Okay. Well, how do you get over that? You guys want a nugget? I'm here to give it to you. All right. What we can do, make a note underneath that. If there's an existing MAI, contact that appraiser and get it stamped again. A current stamp, a current date. Ask them if they can redate the appraisal. They usually have to do a visit to the property. They do a mini inspection, and they'll redate it. You can get that done quickly. You guys like that? Save you a lot of time. Or possibly killing the deal because you can't get the information fast enough because the seller's in dire straits and need you to move quick. That little bit of information, I know you guys appreciate that. Many brokers and sellers insist you use the state realtor forms. Some are very comprehensive, some only have 2 pages, and unfortunately they leave a lot out. You're better off using the contract that your attorney drafts. And guys, it's not that much to draft in a contract. You will need to put all these into an addendum. Number 1 is closing docs. Have your attorney review the closing docs to verify conformity with contract before closing. This is stuff that your attorney does. Set income property closings on the 5th. Make note, put a little asterisk next to that. This reduces your closing costs because you get a big credit for the first month while waiting for the first loan payments. And you put this in your contract. Here it is. I didn't make you guys write this down because I wanted to make sure the verbiage was exact. Rent credit to buyer will begin from the first day of the month if closed by the 10th. This means you get the 1st through the 10th days of rent too. How important is that? Very important. Once you finalize negotiations and go to contract, immediately begin your due diligence process. Okay, guys. Make sure that when you do your due diligence, you go ahead and you take action. We're going to cover due diligence in a moment, but just remember, guys, get in, get out, get rich.